Hello, friends. Welcome to The Existentialist. This is OJ. I'm a life purpose coach. Themes on this channel are mental health, self-improvement, and self-realization. And we provide all the tools and resources to find your why, help you lead a purpose-driven life, and fill your life with passion. In this series, in Conversations With, I have candid conversations with people who've dared to take an unconventional path, dedicated to serving humanity, and we talk in depth about their journeys that shape them into being who they are and help them find their why and all the struggles that make them who they are today. Today, I have with me Diana Joice. Diana is an attraction alchemist. She is a coach that works with people, highly successful people who are looking for a spark in their relationships, in their love life to rekindle their intimacy and also work on themselves from some deep inner work. And I'm super impressed with Diana's work. I've known her for the best part of 10 years now. So really glad to have you here, Diana. Welcome.
I'm very honored. Thank you so much for having me.
Great. It's lovely to have you as well. So yes, please go ahead, Diana. Tell us in your own words what you do and what inspires to do what you do.
So I'm an attraction alchemist, and also I specialize in self-mastery. And that means that coming from the attraction standpoint, it covers polarity, it covers respect, it covers the love bonds, like the deep connection that we want to have within a relationship. And it also covers self-mastery, like self-love, self-understanding. It masters the physical aspects. So I incorporate qigong into my sessions, which also calms down the nervous system. It reboots the physical body and also the mind and the soul. And so when we come into a relationship, then when we have that self-mastery, we can communicate without all of the baggage of, what if and what not whatsoever. So we are calming down the fear factor. We are calming down everything that gets into the way of communicating really what it is that we want and what we desire from another, so that we can build fulfilling relationships, sacred, I call them sacred relationships, with true and unconditional love and a deep understanding for each other.
Great. Thank you so much for that summary, Diana. We've known each other for a while, and I've seen your journey from the point of learning your trade with the RMT, to starting off as a coach, going through different transitions and rebranding yourself. And we've had conversations, you've had a totally different career before that. So yes. What led you to where you are right now? What inspired you on this journey?
Do you mean as a coach, or do you mean the topic in general?
So you have a very unique brand of coaching, and you're very successful at what you do as well. I know that for a fact. But this is not where you started from, and this is very different as well. So what led you to being this intimacy and attraction coach that you are today?
Okay, so it started very, very early with my teenage years. I would have to go back way back then, because it all started with intimacy, with the energy of that. For me, intimacy and also like the cultivation of that raw energy, we can use that for health, and we can use that for stamina. We can use it to put it into our projects, just like with any other energy. Since I grew up a tomboy, I kind of like had problems in my puberty connecting to men. So I was like the tough guy, right? Like in growing boobs and having a butt right now and starting to get a waist. And I had no idea how to speak or how to behave as a girl. And I saw all of these other girls behaving like with their pink colors, the giggling and the hair tossing. And I just didn't understand. And so it took me a very, very long time and several really broken relationships to come to the point to say, okay, enough is enough. I want to really get into a relationship that I find fulfilling, something that has all of these aspects, something that is intimately, not only physically intimate, but also emotionally intimate, something that is true at the core, something with honor, something with unconditional love, where I am accepted, but also where there are boundaries that are created or designed actually to create this relationship entity as you said it, as a spa for the soul, where both people can actually relax into and go into, and that it becomes more of an adventure and more of a togetherness and doing things together and really holding that sacred space for each other and growing from there.
Okay. I love this holistic picture that you provide, which ties into intimacy and really it comes from a deep space.
Yes.
And I think it's something that you've cultivated over time as well, and it's become more and more deeply rooted. It's really nice the way you put it together, and I think it's really powerful as well. Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you.
So I've come across the terms alchemy of attraction and self mastery from you a few times, and I think that is a new offering in a way that you're putting out there. Can you tell us a little bit about what they mean?
So the alchemy of attraction is basically how men and women interact with each other, the polarity, the attraction for each other. It's like, so men have a certain type of energy about them, women have a certain type of energy about them. And then having that as like the two polars, that is like the attraction. And the alchemy is all of these elements that I mentioned before, the intimacy, the emotional intimacy, the communication, knowing and understanding the other, but also first and foremost, knowing and understanding yourself, because that is the basis. If you don't understand yourself, how are you going to communicate it? And if you're not open and honest with it, and if you are coming from a place of not necessarily voicing it in a way that the other can actually understand it, but that it's not really in a benevolent way, but more like perhaps in a passive aggressive way or some other kind of way, that would be not so beneficial for the relationship. And so coming from this place of like really finding your own truth and standing in your own truth, but also cultivating that heart, that unconditional love, and not just for yourself, but also for everything out there. Because what I have learned is like we have like all of these courses with self-love and everything. That is fine. But the danger that I see is that we are raising a nation of narcissists, because we kind of like have forgotten to really love our environment, to really love everything that is around us. And we are not singular. We are connected with each other everywhere and with everyone in some kind of way, even the person on the street that goes by. So there's a rubbing happening or an exchange of energy, even if we're just passing by. Yeah. And some people who are very empathetic, they can feel that. They pick up on those subtle energies. And so this is where I come from, to really see where the relationship is in the holistic way, not only from yourself, but also for the other, and then building that as the relationship entity.
Okay. Wow. Thank you once again for sharing that. You're working on the same aspects, but it's kind of like there's a shift in the approach.
Yes.
There's a lot of focus now on internal grounding than more like unleashing the animal in you. I know that you have a eclectic group of people that you work with, that you believe that you can truly give value to. So who is your coaching specifically for?
I work with successful men and women who really want that sacred relationship, who want to be seen, heard, loved for the person they are, and who want to have that special bond and that special connection, who want the desire, who want the passion, who want the intimacy. All of these beautiful things, the respect, the unconditional love, the closeness, the trust, being certain that they are not being used by someone. I work with those who want to either rekindle their relationship, make it even better, or prepare for a new one. It is for those men and women who are willing to put in the work. If people are coming to me like relationship-wise, that is basically where they are going. Most of the time it's about, I don't have enough sex, or, I want to have more emotional intimacy. How can I bond better? How can I communicate better? How can I create that relationship entity?
So you've mentioned emotional intimacy. What does that really look like, and why is it so hard to achieve? What are some things that get in the way?
Coming from the place of vulnerability or emotional intimacy, it's like really exchanging everything that is happening authentically. So that also means that we don't have to mask an emotion. We create a subconscious out of the things that we do not like about ourselves, or things that we have to kind of like shun and tuck away. So we stick it in the dungeons of our souls, so that we don't have to see it. And you can bring this up and work with it. So that includes shadow work, meaning that you're working on these aspects that you have tucked away. It might be anger, which means that you kind of like don't want to feel anger or don't want to express anger in a way. But the danger with putting away anger is like not knowing when there's a sacred boundary that is being breached, and then setting up a boundary and making clear, no, this is where it ends and I don't want this, right? Yeah. Or if you're always happy and you cannot really empathize with people who are sad, there's like a disruption in the connection with someone else. It's not only that empathizing with someone else is seeing how someone else feels, but also the sympathizing with it is like the connection between people is the ability to feel what another feels, not only seeing it.
Yeah.
Right. And so, because if you only see it and not feel it, then it doesn't really come from the heart, doesn't really come from the soul. Emotion needs to be there. And if it's not, then it's most likely either narcissistic or sociopathic or psychopathic.
Yeah.
We don't want that. No. So coming from this place, like this emotional intimacy is like a big factor, and also like self-love, self-respect, self-grounding, and integrity.
That's a very deep insight. So yeah, so glad to be able to capture it on camera.
Thank you.
I have one more question.
Yes.
What does it mean to flow energetically, especially in the context of a relationship?
To flow energetically is allowing yourself to to be yourself, actually. It's allowing yourself to be yourself and also to experience everything that is around you with your partner, with someone else, with yourself, with the environment. And I have spoken of like self-love and self-respect and all of that, but the same goes for the environment. And I see a link between how we conduct a relationship and how we treat our planet, right? If we look around and how the political state of affairs is, yes. I mean, if we are in relationships and we cannot connect, then that disconnect leads to conflict. That disconnect leads to not really feeling into what is needed at the very moment. And here we go with I want instead of what is right in this very moment, not only for yourself, but also for the partner. And then with this relationship, everyone who has a look inside or who can see it is also being affected, because like I said before, there's energy. And when we meet, that energy kind of like merges. It's not very much. Sometimes it is, but even as strangers, we go past when I look at someone and I smile at them, sometimes or most times automatically another smile comes up. And that's just the moment that brightens their day. So this is another thing that you can do, smile more, smile at people. Right? And just really feel that love, because once we give out the love, we cultivate it inside. And as a woman, to take on the feminine leadership role, it simply means to take the place as a woman in the relationship as the feminine leadership, right? Because there are two people in that relationship and both are leading. And it's like a dance.
Right.
So the one person takes over where there's the most, I don't want to say ability, but the most heart and the most talent. Women have a different kind of leadership style than men do. And for the men, it is also about, when you come home from that business, that still lingers in the air, and then finding that compartment, because you men are very good at that, compartmentalizing. So you have work, then you do this, then you do this, but sometimes it still drags into the relationship. As a man, knowing what women want, really what women want, and then also coming from the heart, the integrity, the honor, the love that also pours into the relationship. Because what I've noticed is that many men come from the head, even when they are in a relationship.
Yeah.
And so the heart space and being able to sink down, like it's basically like coming home from war and then just going into the spa and allowing to really sink and let that guard down. And being capable of doing that also requires like self-love, self-respect, good boundaries, and also like a way of communicating with the intent of building that relationship and growing the relationship.
Yeah, got it. I hear a lot of authenticity in this. I guess showing up authentically as who you're, really connecting with the masculine in you and the feminine in you, but also not restricting yourself to those stereotypes of compartmentalizing things.
Yes.
Or being I guess overly emotional.
Yes.
Yeah. And you mentioned qigong earlier.
Mm-hmm.
I know that it's something that you've been personally working on for the last few years. And you did mention that it's something that you incorporate into your work as well. So
yes.
What is the connection between qigong and fulfilling relationships?
So since qigong, perhaps I should explain what qigong is. Qigong is a meditation in movement. It is energy work. So, and also a healing modality. So whenever we take in a breath in and breath out, we are using the energy of the environment to strengthen our bodies, our lymphatic system, and with it, our minds, our hearts, and calm down everything that might be interrupted in some way. And so when we have that inner calm, that inner strength, and it's a grounding, then we're not so rattled by when a partner comes on and goes like, right? And we can just be like, okay, calm. It comes more from a standpoint of being settled in your own personality, so that when the storm comes, that you as the tree is not being uprooted. When you have this grounding, and this comes with self-mastery, it is so subtle that it heals the mind, the soul, and the body in one go. So everything, like all of the emotional upsets, anything that you encounter, like physical exertion or even stress, you can counteract through qigong.
Have this perspective that you are now bringing to your coaching.
Yeah,
I'm
inside.
glad that you have this perspective now as well. That's a great insight again, and it's a learning for me as well. I think that whatever you speak, whatever your work and your brand is about, is coming from such a deep space, and you have such a deep understanding of everything that you talk about, and it really shows in what you speak. Because I think you started qigong like maybe 3 years ago or so, right?
I started qigong a lot of years ago, but I had like a split in between. So when I learned kung fu from my uncle, that came with it. There was like this energetic work. But qigong came back into the focus as when I started Taoism, because it involves like all of the self-cultivation, which means to actually harness all of the energy and to work with that in many various ways, and then use to kind of like focus into projects or into the relationship, or you can focus it into something that you are doing, maybe a workout. And so when you come like from this place of deep inner grounding, there's a whole different kind of way that you can respond to a partner, or that you can like be in a certain situation, and it just becomes, it just becomes more natural. It becomes less agitated.
But you don't do qigong at that time, right? It's something that you've cultivated over time. It's
I did.
It happens overnight, and it's like a conscious practice.
Yes.
And actually, being in this wellness space, I've now had the opportunity to speak to so many people. I have so many friends, very grateful, who are coaches, counselors, yoga teachers. And I think everybody stresses on having a daily practice. Like, I was talking to another person earlier today, and he was mentioning the same thing, that it's an absolute must to have your daily practice. It helps you to just find your grounding and find yourself, and when you're chaotic or all over the place. And slowly I'm starting to realize that as well. And I think it doesn't have to be the same practice for everyone,
Exactly.
It's really one thing that connects you with yourself, right?
Yeah, exactly. So anything that you do to ground yourself, whatever, 2 minutes a day, I would just recommend every day to just do that, and to really find that grounding. And then it becomes more and more and more and more, because the more we do it, the more it becomes.
You mentioned about relationships, right? About all these practices to make your relationship more holistic, to spice it up in some ways, make it more authentic. But what about for someone who's looking to attract someone in their life? Because I had a client recently who was asking me about, I have an idea about the kind of person I want to manifest in my life, and
Mhm.
I'm trying to build those internal practices to align with that, but nothing seems to work. I can't seem to find the right kind of person,
Yeah.
and I honestly didn't know, you know, how to empower her in such a situation.
Mm. Put a really earnest look inside and then make an assessment. Am I ready for that person? Am I already in the space for the person to be in a relationship with me? And then looking at the values and looking at the inner belief system. It's like, what is necessary for me to get there? And then working on that. So there's like self-work, and then that energy, you naturally just bring it out, right? It becomes the beacon. And that way you speak differently, you hold yourself differently, and then you bring in different kind of people who respond to this kind of energy that you have then cultivated, or the kind of person that you have like grown yourself into.
Mm.
So when you're doing that, I find that is the easiest way of doing it.
Mm. So it's one thing having, working on yourself in some ways, as people say, it's like a cliche, you need to work on
Mm,
yourself first. But it's a different thing actually in crude terms, getting someone,
mm,
getting that person that feels right.
yeah.
And, it, there is a challenge in within a relationship, how to be really fulfilled. But I think there's also a big challenge about actually finding someone. And there is this whole law of attraction industry out there. What do you think about that? Is that some practice you need to follow in terms of attracting and manifesting your partner, or what else? Like, how do you actually find your partner?
Mm. So there are two sides to it, because like following the law of attraction and constantly putting your mind into something is a good practice. But the word finding someone, that means kind of like you're lacking it. What if you were already acting as if
Mm.
you were living that relationship? What if, and then if someone sees you from the outside and is attracted to that, that might be a good indicator that this person might fit.
Mm. Yeah.
So lots of work, lots of self-work, a lot of reflection, a lot of
Yeah.
yeah, coming really from love also. And the law of attraction to me is also a place that is so head-based. It's like I set an intent, but where's the heart in
Mm.
all of that? It's like, do I pour my love into it? Because it's only from the head, then, and if you're looking for unconditional love and a real love bond in a relationship and something that lasts, then I would really say, if you don't just want companionship, then looking for a more heart-based approach, meaning that yes, set the intent, but then at the same time pour all of the love and the passion into it. It's like, I am becoming this one person, and I have to work on this one aspect in order to be ready for that relationship with the partner that I want, or
Mm.
to even have the chances to kind of like emanate the energy that actually makes it possible for someone to say, yeah, I want that. I want to be with this person. Wow.
Um, we're coming to this point where we're kind of wrapping up our conversation today, and I'm very happy to share your details with our viewers, if they wanted to get in touch with you. I think that your style of coaching is definitely very different. It's something that I haven't come across, and it's something that initially made me reach out to you, and I was intrigued about what is this magical factor that you bring in. And we've had so many conversations, and
Yes.
to this day I admire and appreciate the work that you do.
Thank you.
Would you like to leave the viewers with something to take away, something that they can work on for themselves, if they wanted to bring attraction alchemy into their life? What is something that somebody can do on their own?
Find a practice that you do every day, and I mean every day, even if it's just for 2 minutes, because even 2 minutes can make a very, very big difference. It's like a mini vacation basically for you. So find something that you really deeply enjoy, where you can go into a state of complete relaxation, where you have your happy space, where you find your joy. And coming from that and doing that also means like being there for yourself and listening to the things that are important to you. You might want to paint, or maybe you want to do qigong, right? So find something that really, really makes you happy. Like I said, even if it's only for 2 minutes, because it's going to calm you down, it's going to ground you into yourself. And from that place, from this grounding, you can come out into the world and be with your partner with a different kind of attitude, a different kind of energy, much more relaxed, much more in yourself. So, and this is the one thing that I would say, do that every day.
That's wonderful. This is once again so different from any relationship advice that I've come across. It is everything to do with yourself, and that too at an inner level, rather than at a behavioral level. So that's an amazing insight. Thank you once again, Diana. It's been a pleasure to have you. Thank you so much for spending this time today.
Thank you so much for having me. And again, it's been a great honor.
Great. And thank you all for watching. Hope you found this useful. Feel free to leave a comment. Any follow-up questions, Diana will be happy to answer. And thank you for watching. Be well.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, I'm done. And you are
I am an attraction alchemist.
An attraction what?
Attraction alchemist, an alchemist for attraction.
Okay. So yeah, how are you? All good today?
I'm good. I hope you're going to cut this out, right? The brand is called Diana M Joice.
Okay. Do you have your breakfast?
I didn't have breakfast, but I do have my tea.
And I'm like, shit, now I'm going to consciously be not conscious. So you're the judge, right? If I'm like this the whole time, then I fast.
Uh-huh.
Take the risk to be who you are. But I have to say, I saw the cover for your YouTube, and that looked good.
Okay.
It seemed, the black and white over there, it was like
Black and
classy,
white?
right?
It was black and white. It is about attraction. It's about polarity between men and women, the energy. It's about, it's simply about how men and women naturally function together instead of this context of being in our heads, because right now I have a feeling that socially we are so much in our heads. I have to wear high heels. I have to do this. I have, instead of it letting it come and flow for men as well as for women, and then we wouldn't have this mess. but the work situation is also kind of hard because most men are in their headspace, and when women get into their headspace, we know what that does. And then like the headbutting starts because I'm more logical than you, and this doesn't right?
So
And this is
work somehow has a negative impact on which
it can, not necessarily, it can, it depends on where the person is in their energetic space. Like if you're working and you get stuff done, sometimes, I mean, for you men, it might be easier because you compartmentalize, right? You go to work, it's easy. It's easy. You put that work thing in a box, you go home, it's done, period.
Yeah.
Sometimes, not always. Right. So like if you're an entrepreneur like you are, maybe you carry this throughout the day. And maybe you even carry this within the relationships that you have or the friendships that you have. There are different kind of ways of dealing with that, of doing this. And I used to have a PR company here in Germany, and I was on the go for like 17 hours a day sometimes. And even then I needed to take out time for myself to really come back into the femininity, like the softness, because I was doing promotions sometimes for companies like Bose or Porsche or BMW.
Right.
And the thing is, like, if you are in a convention, it's sure you have like feminine attributes as a woman, but basically when you are speaking to someone, it is still behind that, it's still the go-getter mentality. It's still, it's kind of like the seduction scheme. It's still the mind fuck that is happening there. And so when you come home and you just want to be yourself, you kind of like have to rewind. And I found methods for myself to do that.
Okay.
So this is basically for women, for men and women who have their own successful business and who want to find that kind of bonding, that kind of release, that kind of happiness, and also the unconditional love with honor and respect for each other, and then finding the right communication, and then also being able to let down the guard and to be authentically with the other person.
What's the connection between qigong and being fulfilled in your relationships?
If you're not really grounded, or your energetic body, your physical body is not in balance, then your mind cannot really be in balance unless you are constantly in that mindset of, even if you are under tremendous stress, that you are somehow still calming down the system. Then you are much more able to kind of like calm yourself, and instead of reacting, responding, so that you wait and you sense into the situation, you sense into the other, and you come there with compassion instead of just reacting towards something in the spur of a moment.